Security forces in Beirut fired rubber bullets and tear gas during clashes with anti-government protesters and others who tried to attack the protest camp. They set off street confrontations that lasted for hours. The violence was some of the worst in the Lebanese capital since the demonstrations began 2 months ago. The clashes continued as the riot police lobbed tear gas and later used water cannons to disperse the protesters who pelted them with stones. As clashes continued, riot police fired intense volleys of tear gas, some of the heaviest in 2 months. Tens of thousands of people filled Rome's San Giovanni as part of a grassroots movement known as the Sardines against the League's leader Matteo Salvini's politics, holding fish-shaped banners and chanting slogans like "Resistance now and always resistance." Protesters packed the square to denounce Salvini, whose anti-immigrant Italy First rhetoric has resonated with many voters. Sardines movement has been gathering momentum across Italy after an initial protest that drew more than 10,000 in Bologna. Anti-government protests have erupted in the capital city of Bangkok. It's the first major protest since the March election returned a junta-aligned government to power. Thousands rallied behind the popular leader of an upstart anti-establishment party. Protesters held signs calling for democracy. They chanted "Long live democracy, dictatorship, get out," and flashed the three-finger salute, a rallying symbol used by the Future Forward party. Protests have been touted as the biggest in Thailand since the coup in 2014. Supporters of the Iran-backed militia group staged a protest in Baghdad after the U.S. imposed sanctions on the group's leader. Members of the group burned the U.S. flag as well as effigies of U.S. President Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Saudi Arabia's King Salman during the demonstrations. Washington issued the sanctions against the Qais al-Khazali and two other Tehran-linked leaders on December 3rd over their alleged role in the killings of anti-government protesters in Iraq. Former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir has been sentenced to 2 years in a correctional facility after being found guilty of corruption and illegitimate possession of foreign currency. 75-year-old dictator will be sent to a correctional facility because, as per Sudanese law, a person over the age of 70 cannot be kept in a prison. The court also ordered the confiscation of millions of euros in Sudanese pounds found in Bashir's residence when he was toppled. Several other judicial cases have also been launched in Sudan against its former president. Thousands of supporters of Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi thronged the streets of the country's capital. This was to celebrate her arrival back from The Hague after defending the country against genocide charges at the International Court of Justice. The Nobel Peace Prize laureate waved as she drove slowly in a black car through crowds who waved flags, held up pictures of her face, and shouted jubilant greetings. Gambia has accused Myanmar of violating the 1984 Genocide Convention in a military campaign that expelled more than 730,000 Rohingyas from Myanmar. Just days after a landmark accord on a trade pact to replace a North American free trade agreement, Mexico objected to legislation introduced in the U.S. Congress. In fact, the Foreign Relations Department's Undersecretary and Chief Trade Negotiator for North America said most of the bill is in line with the typical process of ratification. However, it also adds designation of up to 5 U.S. labor attaches in Mexico are tasked with monitoring the implementation of the labor reform that is underway in the country. Assailants in Argentina shot 2 British tourists while trying to rob them, killing one and seriously injuring the other. The attack occurred as a tourist approached a luxury hotel in Puerto Medora area of Buenos Aires. Argentine naval officials said in a statement that assailants on a motorcycle, apparently supported by accomplices in a car, tried to steal the belongings of the tourist. The tourist attempted to resist. Family members of Japanese nationals abducted by North Korea expressed their wish for a family reunion and called on the international community to take action on resolving the abduction issue at a symposium hosted by the Japanese government. Parents of Otto Warmbier, the American student taken prisoner by North Korea in 2016, also attended the symposium to show their solidarity. North Korea had admitted in 2002 that it had kidnapped 13 Japanese in the 1970s and in 1980s to train them as spies. 5 have returned to Japan. Japan, however, suspects that hundreds more have been taken. Fire broke out at a Texas Rangers new stadium. However, it was quickly extinguished. The stadium is still under construction in Arlington, approximately 20 miles west of Dallas. An official said that the stadium would still open for the start of the 2020 Major League Baseball season. A shooting that wounded one person in a mall food court sent suburban Atlanta shoppers fleeing in panic. The County Police Department says the person was wounded at Cumberland Mall, and after which the shooting suspect ran away. The victim then was taken to a hospital where police did not describe the extent of the victim's injuries. However, police said they have identified a suspect and are looking for him. Police in southern Taiwan shot a man suspected of planting a possible explosive device outside the campaign office for the island's main opposition party, the Kuomintang. As per local media reports, the device planted outside the entrance to a Kuomintang office in Tainan City contained wires, liquid and powder. Police tracked a suspect, a man with the family name Wu, to the neighboring city of Kaohsiung, and after a 14-hour standoff, stormed a building and shot the man who was taken to the hospital. Police are investigating the motives of the man. Taiwan holds presidential and parliamentary elections on January 11th. A leftist trade and political alliance gathered in Havana denouncing U.S. policy in Latin America and calling for greater regional unity in confronting economic challenges amid a conservative resurgence in the region. Summit of the Bolivarian Alliance for Peoples of America comes as Cuba and Venezuela face increasing pressure from the Trump administration, which seeks to change the leadership of both socialist states. Economic and trade sanctions by the U.S. have caused substantial hardship for each country, and U.S. policy appears unlikely to change in the short to mid-term. A shift towards more conservative governments in Latin America also poses additional challenges to the alliance. Countries remain deadlocked in talks over combating the climate crisis. Discussions at the UN Global Conference drag on beyond the official deadline. Officials from almost 200 countries met on Saturday to examine new texts which have been drafted. Many nations and observers said the latest versions risked backtracking on existing commitments made in the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. They also said that the drafters did not reflect the urgent warnings from scientists that greenhouse gas emissions need to fall sharply and soon. Much of southwestern France was on weather alert, and tens of thousands of homes were without power following gale force winds and flooding that left 2 people dead. Another missing and 5 injured. As many as 40,000 homes were without power, and some 25,000 remain so far from Normandy down to the southwest due to the storms. Some 2,000 technicians had been deployed to restore power to those customers, urging people to call a dedicated hotline if they saw power lines had come down. Meanwhile, the water levels are starting to recede, but very slowly. Belgian and American military veterans, U.S. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Prime Minister of Belgium, Sophie Willems, were among those who gathered in to mark the 75th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. Dawn on December 16, 1944, more than 200,000 German troops counterattacked across the front line in Belgium and Luxembourg, smashing into the battle-weary U.S. soldiers' position and terrain. It marked the beginning of the end of the battle, with the U.S. troops gaining momentum gradually. Both sides suffered huge casualties, with deaths in the month-long battle, which lasted from 16 December 1955 to 25 January 1945. Kang of South Korea was crowned overall champion at the World Drone Racing Championships in Xinjiang, China. This after beating out more than 100 competitors from 31 countries from over the days of competition. Competitors from around the world gathered here to race their drones through a specially made 630-meter track that measures just 4 meters wide and is complete with 16 obstacles. Hunters from across Kazakhstan have gathered in the Almaty region for the annual national competition this month. This event brings together the country's best falconers who show off their handling skills and their birds hunting prowess. The ancient Kazakh tradition, which some of say is over 3,000 years old, used to be a lifeline for Kazakhs as it used to feed entire families. Traditional eagle hunting is seen as Kazakhstan as a symbol of the country's nomadic past. Traditional has been preserved by ethnic Kazakhs in China and Mongolia. Nearly 50 dogs and their owners in Lima participated in an annual pet show which invited contestants to dress up in Christmas-related costumes. Organized by the Pueblo District Municipality ahead of the holiday, the show aims to encourage owners to care for their pets responsibly. Dogs of all breeds and sizes wore their best outfits, donning reindeer antlers and Santa Claus skirts for the occasion. Pet products, toys and costumes were also on sale, while vets from the municipality were also presented to offer advice. Rare footage of a wild mother panda with its cub drinking water has been released by a nature reserve in Sichuan province of southwest China. Pictures filmed in June this year show that the female panda and the cub, around 1 year old, are in good health. The nature reserve has also so far captured footage of wild panda 7 times. Boxing County is known as the place where the giant panda was first discovered and reported by the French missionary Armand David in 1869. Ski jumping platform for Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games have been officially put into operation. Platform named as the Shougang Ski Jumping Platform has hosted its first professional event, 2019 Air and Style Beijing International Ski Federation Free Ski and Snowboard World Cup. Competition gathered nearly 150 top athletes from all over the world. The 2022 Winter Olympics is scheduled to take place from February 4th to February 22nd.